You're welcome to today's lesson. Today, you are going to learn how to answer YSSE questions on personification. I am Adeyemo with the brand name English with RMG, and this video is proudly brought to you by Ighota Virtual Learning Platform. This video is the part 2 of the video that I made on personification. So if you are yet to watch the first part, you can click on the link on the card on the screen, or you can go to the description below to watch that first. And if you don't mind, if you would like to continue from where we left off, then you're welcome as well. So, are you ready to learn with me today? Get your writing materials and let's begin. So we stopped at what? Visual imagery. I said that we can use personification to create visual imagery, and I cited two examples. So now let's continue with other forms of imagery. So imagery can also be tactile. So when we say that an imagery is tactile, it means that you are using language, or you are going to use that figure of speech to evoke the feelings of touch or texture in the reader's mind. So this we are discussing imagery under the purposes of what? Personification. That was where we stopped from the first part. So we are discussing this so that you can understand why authors use personification, and so that you can understand how to also incorporate it into your own writing styles as well, so that you can become a confident writer, a captivating writer, even beyond your YSSC level. You will be able to write captivating what? Write up. So tactile imagery can also convey textures such as smoothness, roughness, softness, hardness, or other surface qualities. It can convey temperatures such as warmth, coolness, coldness, etc. It can as well convey sensations such as sprinkling, tingling, numbness, etc. It can as well convey physical contact such as touch, pressure, or what? Vibration. If you are a novel reader, you would have experienced this. You would read some novel and you will be so engrossed with the content, you wouldn't even want to drop the book. This is because the author has understood how to use what? Figure of speech to captivate their audience. So let's look at a few examples of tactile imagery using personification. So we have the warm breeze caressed my skin, and its gentle fingers traces my arms. So this is just beyond you just saying, "Oh, when I went out, I felt the warm breeze." No. When you say the warm breeze caressed my skin, you can imagine the feeling of that breeze on your skin as you read that write up. So you also need to be intentional to add these kind of expressions to your own write up as well. Do you understand? In order for you to keep your audience engaged, to make them experience whatever it is that you are what trying to tell them. By doing this, you will be showing your reader what you really want to pass across. You wouldn't just be telling them. Do you understand? So let's look at another example. We have the gentle rain kissed my forehead. So when you say this, you are also communicating the emotion, how you feel about the rain. Do you understand? So it shows that you are not angry, that you got caught up in the rain. It is actually an experience that you would enjoy. It is an experience that you would describe to be what? Blissful. So beyond tactile and visual, imagery can also be auditory. I said something about this auditory imagery in the previous video. So, when you hear imagery, you might want to think, oh, it's just what you can see. No, imagery can also be auditory. The use of words can also evoke your sense of what's hearing. So, it is the use of language to create vivid sensory experience of sound in the reader's mind. It could be a soothing sound, it could be a harsh sound, it could be an unpleasant sound. Do you understand? But by using language, an author can also make their reader imagine the kind of different types of sounds. Do you understand? So let's consider a few examples. We have the wind whispered secrets in my ears. So when you say this, you are communicating your experience better than just saying, "Oh, it was windy when I went out." Do you understand? So you're also you'll be communicating your experience beyond what just happened. That, oh, it was windy. You would be communicating your experience of what? Your ability to hear the sound of the wind in your ears as you walk through the wind. Maybe it's a windy night, a windy afternoon, or a windy morning. Are you following? So, example two for auditory, we have the reader sang a gentle melody and its soothing voice calm my mind. So if you've been at a seashore before or you've gone to a bar beach, you will know that when the when when you're at a seashore or at the beach, you could hear the sound that the river will make as it moves back and forth. And this is usually very soothing to hear. You know, by saying this, you would even make your reader understand the atmosphere better. So imagery can also be olfactory. So when we say that this imagery is olfactory, it means that you are using language to create vivid imagery of what? Smell. So not just visual, not just tactile, not just sound. You can also use words to evoke your readers or your listeners' sense of what? Smell. Just by using vivid imagery, do you understand? In your expression. So you could have the scent of freshly cut grass, whispered sweet nothings in my ear. So when you hear this, you can actually imagine the scent of freshly cut grass. If you are familiar with it already, or if you say that, oh, the scent of freshly brewed coffee welcomed me into the home. You can imagine freshly brewed coffee, the smell of it in that moment as well, especially if it is something that you often do in your house as well. So as you read it, you'll be able to imagine it. And by imagining it, you'll be able to get more connected to the subject matter or to the storyline in which you are reading or listening to. So the smell can also be unpleasant, such as the stench of rotten garbage growled in protest, and its foul breath makes me gag. So by reading this kind of thing as well, or by using language like this, you can carry your audience along. They will be able to understand that, oh, everybody that read this can imagine perceiving an horrible smell, and they will be able to, kind of experience whatever it is that that character in that moment or the person you are talking about in that moment will feel. So it is just beyond you saying, oh, this it was a bad smell. No, it was a bad smell, it's just an ordinary statement. But if you really want to carry your audience along, your readers along, you need to learn how to incorporate use of imagery, such as all of this experience that I've given you in your write-up. So imagery can also be gustatory, which is the fifth and the last type of imagery. So, gustatory is the use of language to create vivid sensory experience of taste in the reader's mind. It is a form of imagery that appeals to the reader's sense of taste, evoking flavors, textures, and sensations. That is beyond pictures, beyond smell, beyond feelings that you have on your skin, or beyond the smell as well. You can as well use language to evoke your readers or your listeners' sense of what? Taste. So let's look at these examples. So we have the bitterness of the coffee scolded me, and its sharp words linger on my palate. So when you read a sentence like this, you can imagine how bitter and how sharp the coffee must have been for your audience, for the person or for the character to respond to it this way. It is better to use imagery than to just say, oh, it was a bitter coffee. That is just an informatory statement. Do you understand? But if you want your reader to keep connected and experience whatever it is that you are saying alongside with you, then you need to consider incorporating the use of figure of speech, including personification, into your write up. So, another example is the spiciness of the curry danced on my tongue. Everybody knows that how uncomfortable one can be when you take something that is spicy. Do you understand? You would want to, you will feel like bringing your tongue out. So by saying the spiciness of the curry danced on your tongue, you can actually imagine how uncomfortable it must have been for your tongue in that moment. Are you following? I hope I'm not so fast and I hope you are getting the point. So by now, I hope you understand my point that personification has purposes beyond you just being able to define it and being able to identify them in sentences. Their purposes is for you to also create what? Engaging write up, creative write up, captivating write up. So now let's move on to the next purpose of personification on our list, which is to evoke and convey complex emotions. You know, emotions can be complex ordinarily. Your ability to express your emotions sometimes is not as easy as you feel it. So let's see how personification can help us communicate it better. So, personification helps to communicate complex emotions in a more relatable way so that the reader does not just know what happened, but also connects with what happened in a way that he or she can feel and empathize with the emotional state of the subject matter at hand. That is, when you use personification, and like for example, when you say the wind whispered secrets in my ears. You know, you are not just saying, oh, it was windy. You are as well communicating what you are likely to feel in that moment if you were in that wind. That is, you are going to also feel the waves of the wind in your ears. Do you understand? So let's consider other examples. So we have the wind was blowing strongly. This is an ordinary statement. Do you understand? If you say the wind was blowing strongly, it is just an ordinary statement. Okay, I've heard you. But there is no emotion. I can't feel anything connected to the information that you have given me. But if I say that the wind howled in anger, shaking the trees, you know, you are able to communicate deeper meaning, deeper emotions. You can imagine how the wind must have been blowing so strongly that the trees were also what? Shaking. You can even imagine that if you were in that scene, you would have to close your eyes because the wind might also be what? Moving other things that could be dangerous to your eyes in that moment. So, the use of personification helps us to communicate complex emotions beyond just the literal words um, or the ordinary words that we could use. So, another thing is you can say the rain was falling, or the rain was heavy, or there was a downpour this morning. That would be just an informative statement. But when you say the rain wept furiously, drumming against the roof, you would be able to communicate the feelings that, oh, while maybe you're even in the room, you could feel how heavy the rain is because you could perceive the raindrops on your roof. Do you understand? And when you say wept furiously, you are communicating how heavy the rain was. Do you understand? So personification alongside with other figure of speech helps us to communicate beyond just the literal words. We are able to communicate emotions, moods, atmosphere better by using what? Personification. Don't worry, I'm still going to give you practical examples from or how to apply this practically using questions from your past YSSC question. So now let's move on to the next purpose of um personification, which is to convey complex ideas. So, personification helps communicate complex ideas and concepts in a more relatable and memorable way, especially abstract ideas, by creating what? Vivid imagery that helps the reader connect better with the subject matter. Excuse me. Thereby fostering better, memorable understanding of the subject matter. That is, beyond complex emotions, you can as well use personification to communicate complex ideas or complex concepts. So, for example, when we have progress often requires sacrifice, this is also another ordinary informative statement. But if you would like to also communicate deeper meanings and make it more relatable to your listener, you could say something like, progress is a demanding teacher that requires us to pay the price of hard work. So, as a listener, you can imagine having a demanding teacher that would not accept a mediocre effort from you. If you do it and you are not doing it right, the teacher is going to ask you to go back to redo it again, to redo it again, to redo it again until you get the desired result. Do you understand? So by giving this kind of expression, it makes it more relatable. It makes it more understandable that, oh, I need to keep doing, making effort until I get what my desired results. If truly I want to what progress at what I am doing. So it is a better way to express complex ideas than just using ordinary statement. So let's move on to the next purpose of using personification, which is it encourages creative and critical thinking. I would really want to implore you here to pay attention because, in fact, this is a full topic on its own, creative and critical thinking, and it cuts across different fields. But here we are particular about writing, English, developing your English skills. Do you understand? So, the usage of personification and many other figure of speech in writing usually encourages critical and creative thinking. This begs the question, what is critical and creative thinking? So, let me just ask you, have you ever been taught, maybe in your English class or in your literature class, a teacher has walked in to tell you, today's topic we are going to discuss critical and creative thinking. Have you ever been in any class? Let me know in the comments. So, what is critical and creative thinking? Critical and creative thinking is the ability to analyze, synthesize, evaluate, and interpret ideas, concepts, and meanings in order to arrive at the best way to communicate one's ideas, perspective, concept, or meaning. I would like you to pay attention to the fact that this definition I'm giving is in the context of teaching writing. Do you understand? Critical thinking and creative thinking cuts across different fields. So this definition is limited to the context of writing. Do you understand? So when we talk about critical and creative thinking, what I'm saying to you is that when you want to write any write up, you already have your topic. Don't just free write from the beginning to the end. Oh, I've read the question. Let me just answer. No, you need to ask yourself questions. Which message am I trying to pass across in this write up? How better or how well do I express myself so that my audience is going to understand the message that that I want to pass across? The first idea, the first sentence that comes to you might not be the best. Do you understand? So you need to calm down to challenge your own thinking. Critical thinking is thinking about your own thinking. When you think about that idea, oh, I know what I'll write already. Challenge it before you eventually write it. Is it really making sense? Is it really passing the information that I wanted to pass across? How better can I say this? Instead of just saying, it was a beautiful sunny day. Why can't I just say that the sun smiled on my beautiful skin or on my tender skin on this amazing afternoon? By saying that, I'll be creating more vivid imagery. I'll be keeping my audience or my reader more connected to what I'm trying to say. Do you understand? So, critical and creative thinking is your ability to challenge your own thinking. Do you understand? Your own ability, your own writing skills, your own writing styles. Are you following? So, personification is going to encourage you to think critically because it is not just going to come to you at once. You need to think critically and creatively for you to come up with what um sentences of what personification. So let's look at this example. We have the road was lonely. Instead of just saying the road was lonely, you could, when you think about it again and again, you could come up with something like the road whispered to the shadows of trees, such that its loneliness was a heavy burden to bear. And when you say it this way, your reader can actually picture walking on a lonely road where all you can see is the shadows of the trees along the road. So by saying this, you'll be able to keep your reader engaged, connected to the subject matter. Do you understand? Your reader will have the opportunity to experience that moment alongside with you. It wouldn't be you just giving information, it will be you captivating your reader. Do you understand? And that is why I've said that this course or this video is beyond just preparing for your WAEC. It is also what you need to learn to become a confident writer forever. Even though you graduate, you want to become a writer, you want to become a lawyer, you want to be whatever it is that you want to become. When you need to write, always remember all the lessons that you are learning in this video today. Do you understand? So let's consider other examples. So example 2, you could say, I was very happy that night. That's an ordinary statement like that. So you know that you want to communicate that moment of being happy. But when you say I was very happy that night, you are not communicating the emotion, what you feel. You are not helping your reader to experience that experience with you. But when you say something like this, that night I felt joy caressing my soul like a gentle breeze, and it suits my heart and soul. So by saying that, your reader would also imagine feeling that joy alongside with you at the bottom of their heart. And this is what make readers connected to the subject matter. And this is why authors use figure of what speech. And that is why you also need to incorporate it in your writing skills as well. So let's look at the last purpose, which is to build connection between the reader and the subject matter. So personification helps to build connection. In fact, I've said this alongside my explanation, my previous explanation. But let's see again. We have the usage of personification helps create vivid imagery and set tone, mood, and atmosphere so that the subject matter is communicated in a more relatable way. This helps the reader to not just read the words, but also connect with the mood, tone, and atmosphere being communicated. So when you use personification, not just personification, every other figure of speech as well, it helps you to build, just like the example I give, that that night joy crept into my soul and caresses my soul. When you give expressions like that, you keep your audience connected to you, that I felt joy caressing my soul like a gentle breeze, and it suits my heart and soul. Or the first example that I give, it helps to keep your audience connected to you. It helps your reader to also experience whatever it is that you are trying to narrate as well. So don't just use ordinary statements from the beginning to the end of your write-up. Try to always intentionally include figure of speech. So now let's move on to how we can apply this to our questions from your YSSE past questions. Because if I don't do this with you, it means that I'm just giving you information. I'm not being practical. So let's look at a few questions from the past questions. So we have question 5 from section A, Y 2001. So, from section A, we usually have 5 questions, but you are only asked to choose one and answer. So I've chosen one, which is a story. So write a story which ends with the statement, better late than never. So I want to write this story. In writing, you usually have liberty of creativity. You can come up with any form of write-up, especially this is a story. You can come up with any story of your choice. So for my own story, I've tried to write this paragraph as what is going to be my last paragraph. Let me read it first before I tell you what I've been writing previously. They said the sentence should end the paragraph. Sorry, the sentence should end the story. So I'm assuming that this is going to be my last paragraph. So as I approached Papa's house that night, the moon smiled benevolently, casting a gentle glow on the journey's end. So, I've been able to use what? Personification by saying the moon smiled. So I'm not just going to say the moon was bright or it was a night where we have a beautiful moon. No. When you use figure of speech like this, it helps you create that mood, that atmosphere. So your reader can imagine that, oh, it was a beautiful evening where the moon was what? Fully out. So it illuminates my realization that even the most delayed of arrivals can still find beauty in the destination. Thus, with a heart full of gratitude, I stepped into Papa's compound once again, and I sighed in relief as Papa welcomed me with his warm embrace. Once again, I said, it is better late than never. So here I'm imagining that I've written this story as me being a victim of a wicked auntie who took me to Lagos with a promise that she's going to give me a better life. But I realized she was going to use me for what? Human trafficking. Then after meeting people, experiencing different things, I eventually escaped and I was able to come back to my father. Do you understand? So let's look at another example. We have WAEC 2020, section A, question 1. So we have your brother, who is in the third year in another school, has written to confide in you that he is about to stop schooling and go into business. Write a letter to him advising him against his decision. So let's say I want to answer this question. How do I incorporate personification into my answer? So here I have it. Dear brother, as I read your letter, doubt crept in like a thief, stealing the sparkles from my eyes. That is, in that moment, doubt crept in. That's a form of what? Personification. Fear whispered warnings in my ears, painting vivid pictures of a future uncertain. However, wisdom urged me to share a counsel with you. Education is a garden, brother, where seeds of knowledge bloom into flowers of opportunities. Abandoning it now would be like a farmer forsaking his fields, leaving them to wither and die. So, by using this personification at the beginning, I'm able to create imagery, not just say, "Oh, I was scared when I read your letter," or "I'm afraid." You might I'm afraid about what your future outcome is going to be. Rather than just using ordinary statements, step up your writing skills by adding what? Personification. And that is why I'm giving you practical examples of how to do it in answering your what? YSSC questions. Since this video is devoted to YSSC students. Do you understand? So, so here I'm imagining that I'm trying to express my fear for the decision that my brother has made to my what? To my audience, or to, sorry, to him. I'm trying to express it in that write up. So how do I say it using personification without just using ordinary statement? So I thought of, instead of me just saying I was scared, I thought of using what? Fear whispered warnings in my what? In my ears. Do you understand? I hope you can do that now on your own. Do you have any question? Please, if anything is not clear, put it in the comment section below. I'll be there and I'll be glad to answer your question. If anything is not clear, just ask any question. And please tell everyone about Ighota virtual learning platform. Tell a friend to tell a friend about English with RMG. If you are yet to subscribe, subscribe to this channel, like and share. And also give us your thoughts. Let us know what you think.